Daddy Freeze, he is known to be controversial. He works for the radio, OAP. That's what he is. He has decided once again to go against the doctrines of the Mountain of Fire Ministry. Mountain of Fire Ministry is a church that has been there for over a decade. This is a church that has a different approach, although it's not new anyway. But it came up with a new pattern, a new strategy in combating the realm, combating in the realm of the spirit, war in the realm of the spirit. And this church is known for calling fire and asking whatever issues you have in life to die. I think you must have heard prayers such as every Goliath in my life die and stuff like that. And there are conservative Christians. You see, in life, we have the conservative people. Even in politics, you say these ones are conservatives, these ones are Republicans, these ones are Democratic, and these ones are Labor, different groups and factions. The same thing when it comes to the spiritual realm. We have the conservative Christians. These are the ones that believe that you should be nice to, enemies. You should be nice to a lot of things. And now, I once listened to TB Joshua. Is a senior prophet of STහැ0NG. He talked about the prayers of Mountain of Fire. A lot of people have criticized him, just like how TB Joshua has also been criticized. He also once in a while speaks in criticism, or is he correcting? I don't know. He once said that demons do not die. Now, that is on one side. I do not know much about that, if demons die or they do not, although there are scriptures that back up this. Spirits do not die, and demons are spirit. They only make use of physical object, human body or inanimate object. They reside in it. Demons do not die. Spirits do not die. Angels do not die. Now, Mountain of Fire prayers goes this way. Die, die, die. What is dying? Every spirit of this, die. Now, this pastor, Olukoya, he has several times explained to who wants to listen. He said, when we say die, we are simply talking about the activities of whatever it is to die, not the spirits. Spirits do not die. But how then do you say? Will you say, oh, every spirit of whatever, stop, stop, stop? I think he said the Mountain of Fire is a military college, is a military school, that there are different types of agencies. Let me use that word. There are different types of agencies in the Christendom, that his own is a military agency, warring agency, and not the motivational speaker agency. You see? So I'm just trying to explain to you. So a lot of people that are not in line with war might say differently. That's why I said conservative Christians. Now, people have read the scriptures and they interpret it according to what they think it's inside of the scriptures anyway. So I decided to bring this up to you guys today, Sunday, so as for us to look into this. There are Bible scriptures that Daddy Freeze decided to come up with, and opening or writing scriptures or bringing Bible scriptures or cutting out a specific Bible scripture does not necessarily do justice to the entirety of it. From what I've come to learn and understand, one scripture relates to the other and interprets the other. It's like a connection around it. It's not just one singular scripture that you take all away and you use that as a weapon to kind of argue your way out. So Daddy Freeze took to his verified Facebook handle and he decided to post something telling the Mountain of Fire Ministry, where he wrote, he said, "Dear MFM, kindly consider the following scriptures before your next prayer session. Please, if you pray for your members' enemies to die, stop it. Instead, teach your congregation to pray for their enemies to prosper and encourage them to lend their enemies money whenever they need it, expecting nothing in return, as Christ instructed us to. Anything outside this is Antichrist doctrine." And he signed this FRZ freeze to show that he wrote it himself. Well, he also came up with scriptures to back up what he has said. Now he calls himself a scripture man, a man of the scriptures. And one time he had some issues with Reno Mokri, who also claimed that he has gone to research. He went to Ethiopia, went to Egypt, went to many of those countries to research, to find out history and to also study the Bible. Now, what I've come to also realize is that to some, they are given the revelation of the mystery of the scriptures, while some do not. They just interpret these things from their, from their intellectual ability, their mind knowledge, brain knowledge, and they read it like a novel or like a book, and they want to interpret. While some have already mixed it, they interpret the scriptures so as to suit what they want. So it's a lot of a very mixed up thing out there. Anyway, he said it is an antichrist doctrine, and he quoted Luke 6:28. He said, "But I say, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who hurt you." And in response to this, the Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministry said, so I want you guys to decide. I want you to drop your comment, decide on the scripture that I've just read out here, quoted out to you, and the explanation of the Mountain of Fire Ministries. Mountain of Fire Ministries said that there are different kinds of enemies. That the enemies Jesus Christ is talking about is that one. Probably someone, you parked your car and someone did something to the car. Those are enemies. Someone that hurt you here and there. But he said there are some kind of enemies that are different. And according to Mountain of Fire, he said these are not enemies that come to slap you physically. These are enemies who sit somewhere. They connect with what you do not have ability to. They connect in the realm of the spirit, and they begin to destroy. They kill your children. They do a lot of things, very occultic things, diabolic. That is what Mountain of Fire is talking about. Like they send something to probably, just think and imagine anything evil that could come on you. Someone X you, cast a spell on you and stuff like that. Those are the enemies that Mountain of Fire said you cannot allow them, because the spirit inside of them is not like the one, that kind of a minor one that is inside someone that probably decided to do something, little things here and there, or I don't know, few things. We are talking of people that you do not have access to. We are talking of people that you talk to, probably they're your relatives, they're your friends or something. Or, you know what I mean? We are talking about people operating in another realm, a realm that the police, you cannot go and, of course, if someone breaks your car, if someone hurts you, someone does some things, you can call in the police, you can take the person to the court. But there are enemies that cannot be taken to, you cannot sue them. They cannot be taken to the physical court to solve the problem. These are enemies that engage in spiritual warfare with you. And he said those kind of enemies, you need to drag them to the court of the Almighty, and you have to proclaim judgment over them, and you have the right to determine what happens to them. And of course, you say what you have to say and the Holy Spirit carries it out. That is the explanation of the Mountain of Fire Ministry. So I don't know if you relate with what Mountain of Fire Ministry have explained 2 times. 1, that demons don't die, but we are asking the activities of the demons to die. And 2, talking about what enemies you love, you pray for, and you do all of those things to. When they hurt you, you bless them, you give them money, you make them feel good. Those enemies, he said, they are different, not like the ones that are ready to finish you up in the spirit. These are the ones that you cannot take to the court. You cannot complain to the police. These ones, they said, have the ability to kill you and the police together without touching you. Those are the enemies. He said you cannot just leave them there. He says stop them, finish them before they finish you. And Mountain of Fire also gave examples of how a person could, kind of be used by the kingdom of darkness to destroy your life or even kill you. That is the final. And eventually the person gives his life to Christ and becomes born again. He said that is the mystery of the kingdom. He said, God will accept the person. Jesus Christ will accept the person. But you are done. You are gone and your life is in disarray. And you might even end up in hell. So he said, stop them before they stop you. It's a life of war. And they also talked about some Bible verses and that I cannot remember at the moment. But what I've come to realize is that a lot of people misinterpret the scriptures. Like, for example, there's a scripture that says, right from the time of John the Baptist, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence and the violent people take it by force. A lot of interpretation over the time has been there. Some said, oh, it means that we have to fight the war, you have to pray it hard, and a lot of things. There are mysteries written in the scriptures. Now, the second Bible verse, the OAP that the phrase quoted is Luke 6:35. But love your enemies, do good to them and lend to them, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For He is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Now, talking about lending money, love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them. Well, it's a kind of a complex thing now. Like I explained to you, I said if you borrow someone money, you lend someone money, and the person refuses to give it to you back, and the person say, do whatever you want, I will show you, and all of that. It's a different kind of enemy. Those are the kind of enemies you can report to the police. You see? So let's go forward. So he quoted this again, Matthew 5:43. He said, you have heard the law that says, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Now, he's talking about the Old Testament now. He said, you have heard of the law that says, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. And Romans 12:14, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse. 1 Peter 3:9, do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult, but blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit blessings. He brought up 1 Thessalonians 5:15. Make sure that no one repays evil for evil. Always pursue what is good for one another and for all people. 1 Peter 2:21. For God called you to do good, even if it means suffering, just as Christ suffered for you. Is your example, and you must follow his steps. 1 Peter 2:23. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered. He left his case in the hands of God, who always judge fairly. These are the scriptures that the phrase came up with. Now, I want you that are vast in theology, people that have understandings of the scriptures, I want you guys to come to the comment section and let us relate on this. There are a lot of comments there about prayers. Some have called that the phrase a toothless dog that cannot bite, an empty barrel that does not understand things that are happening in the spiritual realm, but he thinks he can use brain knowledge to relate to these things. And they said that when MFM is praying, die, like I told you, they are targeting their prayer to the spirit and power backing up the problems, such as afflictions, infirmity, backwardness, stagnation, and so on, and not human being. And of course, along the path, there are some human beings that have sold their souls to the devil, and they must be kicked off, because those kind of people cannot be delivered from the demon. They don't want to leave the demon. Even if something comes on them and they the demon runs out of them, they still go back to get back the demon. These ones are the die-hard followers of darkness. We have people like this too. So what do you do to them? Do you pray them out of the world or not? These are the questions that I'm asking for you guys to talk about. So someone said that the free lacks a complete understanding of the scriptures. The verses he has quoted has nothing to do with the prayer style of MFM. The verses has to do with known human enemies, like the ones that physical enemies. Of course, physical enemies still have the ability to make use of and channel spiritual, demons and stuff like that. Well, what is your opinion as regards this? If you are a prophet, a prophetess, a pastor, you understand theology, you're a layman, you are someone that just give your opinion on this and drop your comment in the section below. Drop your comment in the section below. Now, I'm going to leave you guys with this. And this is also a scripture that says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers and rulers of darkness, wickedness in high places. So what is wrestle? I want you guys to check the definition of wrestle. If you are wrestling against principalities, and that principalities, they are demons somewhere, but they are manifesting and working in the lives of humans to come against you. How do you wrestle? You wrestle against the demon in what way? Are you going to say, oh, demon, get out? I think you understand what wrestling is all about. And there are some kind of wrestlings without law. There are no rules around it. It is a free for all. Anything you use, any weapon you have available, make use of it. So what do you understand by that scriptures and what Daddy Fraser said? We wrestle not against flesh and blood. It is written not against physical, meaning you don't go attack the person and hit the hammer on the head of that witch or the head of that wicked person that you say, oh, this person is trying to hex me, this person is trying to use a spell on me. That is not against flesh and blood, that you are wrestling against the source of that, the force, the power behind that person. And how do you wrestle it? If demons do not die, what should you say? How do you pray? How do you wrestle it? This, I want you guys to kind of drop your comment in the section below.